Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird. What's up, weirdos? This is Stephanie.
And this is Andrew.
And you are listening to episode 13 of the
History for Weirdos podcast.
So welcome. Thank you so much for listening to us tell you wonderfully weird, very strange, but hopefully fascinating stories.
Yes, hopefully. And this is what, day number 8 million of quarantine. We've only lost our mind 80%.
I'd say that's really scientifically accurate.
Very scientifically accurate. And
80%.
I think scientists worldwide would agree with that assessment.
Mm-hmm. So we're still here.
We're still here. Yeah, we're making some wonderfully weird stories in this wonderfully weird time.
Yeah, and for this episode, Andrew is going to tell me and you and me, you and I, us together, a story.
Yes, all of that.
All of us. I need to act like there's other people here.
Yeah.
What do you have for us?
Okay, well, before we start with the story, I want to cite my sources because I'm not going to have you make fun of me.
Eye roll. Because I can't see my eye roll.
So, of course, there's Wikipedia because, what isn't Wikipedia with anything?
Very, very exotic source.
Exactly.
Go on.
And allthatisinteresting.com.
Yes, I love them.
Yeah, me too. I love them. And
great articles.
And I know I haven't even brought up what we're talking about today, but
oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
what are we talking about?
Yeah, I want to get that out of the way first before I even got into the story because it's really interesting.
Levi and I traumatized you.
Yeah, you guys did. I hate you guys so much.
I love you too, babe.
So today, Stephanie,
Andrew.
listeners,
Friends.
Stella, I'm going to be talking. Yeah, she looked. I'm going to be talking about the mystery of Greek fire.
Greek fire.
Yes.
That sounds really badass.
It is. It really is, actually. I'm going to talk about the history of it and what it is.
Oh, it sounds like it could be
What is it?
Who the heck wrote the Da Vinci Code?
Dan Brown.
It sounds like it could be a Dan Brown book title.
Oh, it definitely does.
Greek fire.
Greek Fire by Dan Brown. Coming to theaters summer 2021.
Yeah, I like it.
You're welcome, Dan Brown. So let's start out on what we actually know about it. So
Okay.
It was started to be used in the early 670s AD by the Byzantine Empire, aka the Eastern Roman Empire. What?
So not ancient Greece.
Not ancient Greece, no.
That's exactly what I thought it would be.
I know, that's what I thought it was too. But no, it's our boys in Rome. Roman
Of course,
Empire.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it's
Another thing. Yeah, another thing.
They're everywhere.
They contributed to the world.
We heart Roman Empire.
Yes, yeah. I'm a little obsessed, and by little I mean a lot.
He's severely obsessed. It's
Yes.
annoying.
Hey, I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think it's super cool too.
Yeah, I just take it to the next level, I think.
Everything in quarantine, babe, is taken to the next level. Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Everything. All of our emotions.
Oh, I know. So, back to Greek fire. Its explosive nature absolutely devastated naval opponents, and it's said that not only did water not extinguish it, but it actually helped fuel the flame in some cases.
So it is a fire. It's like a weaponized fire.
Yes, but that cannot be put out by water.
That's so scary.
Yeah. And if you think about it, a really good example of this in TV was Game of Thrones.
Yes.
You know where I was going with that,
exactly what
huh?
I was thinking of.
Yeah, Battle of the Blackwater, season 2, episode 9. Yes, I'm a nerd.
Is that the same episode where everyone gets blown up? Because they use the...
Oh, yes, they do use it in a later episode as well. I think it's the season finale of, like, season 6 or something.
Yeah, under the church, essentially.
Yeah, the Church of the Seven. Yeah, that's right. That's the same thing. It's similar to that. That was so inspired by Greek Fire, actually.
Of course it was. It makes so much sense, because even in that show, you can see how George R. R. Martin, like, you could tell he just researched the weirdest stuff in human history. And was like, perfect. It writes itself. I'm going to add dragons
yeah, I know,
and
seriously.
Nightwalkers, and it's perfect.
Oh, I know. He's a weird dude, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo. I hope.
Oh my god, that would be so cool.
Oh god, I really hope so. So, making this... Speaking of weird, the only things that could put out Greek Fire, there's 3 of them. Do you want to venture any guesses?
Sand.
Sand is one of them. Yes, that is correct.
Right? Because sand puts out fire now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when they deal with larger scale fires, it's like a powder.
Yeah, like a powder. Yeah, it's basically like sort of like sand, I suppose.
Fancy sand.
Fancy.
And then 2 more.
There's Dosmos.
Stella.
Stella, if you throw Stella in it, it will completely make it go away. You just hear,
oh my god!
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Guys, we're just kidding.
We just lost everyone.
I know.
Never mind. Just tell me the other 2.
So, the other 2 are vinegar and urine.
Ew!
Yes, and especially like the old, like urine that's been sitting out for like a week or so. Old urine.
I love the idea of how they figured this out.
Yeah, like, dude, like, yeah. So, do you think, like, people just, like, pissed on it and were like, oh my god, this is actually working?
Like, the water didn't work, you guys. Like, everyone pee.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my god, this actually works.
And it would have to be men, because women, we need a squat to pee on things.
Squatty potty.
Yeah. Not a squatty potty, but, like, we would need a shiwi.
A shiwi!
Mm-hmm. It's an Orange is the New Black reference.
Oh, God.
So it's just a bunch of dudes were like, the water didn't work, so let's pee on it.
Yeah.
That's male logic if I've ever heard of it, but it actually worked.
I know.
And vinegar.
And vinegar.
2 acidic things.
Very
so, like,
much
the sand makes sense to me, but vinegar, I would think, would make it worse, to be honest.
Yeah, and it definitely has something to do with the chemical reaction. And I think pee and vinegar, aren't they, like, kind of similar-ish?
Oh, I don't know. We should look that up later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyways, there were variations of this used by the Chinese, the Arabs, and the Ottomans during the medieval time period, but nothing came close to, like, the veracity of Greek Fire. Wow. They were just essentially cheap knockoffs.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
So they probably didn't get the same formula.
Oh, no, they definitely did not.
Okay.
They absolutely did not. And, you know, in fact, it would be another almost 1,300 years before something similar would surface. And what we now know as napalm would be that thing. And that was created, you know, in a secret Harvard lab during World War II, I might add, to make things even crazier and weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to it?
Yeah, and developed in the 20th century.
That's insane.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so interested in who came up with it and how and what it is, like what it's made out of.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's literally the next thing I'm going to talk about.
Well, look at that.
Well, looky here. Yeah. So the history of this.
Yeah.
It is said that Greek fire was invented by a dude named Kallinikos, or Kallinikos, and that's Latinized to Kallinicus. And I'm going to use the Latinized version from now on. He was from a city called Heliopolis, and he was a Jewish architect who fled from Syria to Constantinople after an Arab attack, basically kind of destroyed his home city of Heliopolis.
Wow, that's so sad.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, like, you know, when we get into sort of like ancient texts, a lot of the times the historical record isn't, like, great.
Yeah,
to
of course.
To be honest. So the accuracy and the exact chronology of this account, is open to question.
Yeah.
So the chronicler and historian Theophanes, jeez, I'm going to butcher this guy's name.
Just go for it, babe. I believe in you.
Theophanes. Theophanes.
I think that's perfect.
Let's do it. Reports the use of fire-carrying and siphon-equipped ships by the Byzantines a couple of years before the supposed arrival of Callinicus at Constantinople.
Okay, so they already had... So some accounts are like he invented it, but other accounts are like it was there before.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But if this is not due to chronological confusion, again, this just might be like mix up of dates of the events of like sieges. It may suggest that Callinicus merely introduced an improved version of an already established weapon.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, exactly. So something or another. It was probably
So it's probably a little bit of everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, like the historian James Partington further thinks that it was likely that the Greek fire was not in fact created by a single person, but was invented by chemists in Constantinople who had inherited the discoveries of the Alexandrian chemical school, and that's in quotes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I hated chemistry, but I would absolutely hated it. I'm so sorry, Miss Santana, but I would absolutely love to go to the Alexandrian chemical school.
I mean, I think I would have...
badass.
I liked chemistry, but I think I would have liked it. I think I would have liked it more if I could like make like weapons like that.
Oh my god. The NSA's knocking on our door. Look at that. That's so interesting though. I wonder if at all folks like saw this occurring in nature somehow.
Yeah.
Like some naturally occurring chemicals kind of like collided and humans saw this and they were like, whoa, I want to weaponize that, as we tend to do.
Well, I'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Later on.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yes, as you should be.
Even though we're sitting on the floor.
We're so proper.
Yes, always.
So, Callinicus, his development of Greek fire came actually at a critical moment in the Byzantine Empire's history. So it had been weakened by long wars with the Sassanid Empire in Persia.
Sassanid?
The Sassanid, yeah. So that was the successor empire to the Parthian Empire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in Persia. The Byzantines had been unable to effectively resist the onslaught of not only trying to fend off those attacks, but also, which they did successfully, but they also were had to fend off attacks from the new like quote unquote Islamic threat. So like essentially a confederacy of Arabs. So within a generation, in fact, Syria, Palestine, and Egypt had all fallen to the Arabs, who in around 672 set out to conquer the imperial city of Constantinople, aka Rome V2.
Okay. So they really needed some support. They needed like a secret weapon, essentially.
Exactly. So Greek fire was used in great effect against this onslaught and really helped kind of repel this Muslim alliance at the first and second sieges of the city.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts. It really did save their butts.
Well, it sounds unparalleled at the time. Like no one had anything like it. I doubt everyone's instinct was to pee all over it.
Yeah, I know.
Or throw vinegar at it. So that's so
it really saved their butts.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and to like all the listeners as well, like Constantinople is surrounded on three sides by water. So if you had a massive fleet surrounding the city with these siphon carrying, ships that like basically spray like liquid fire.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's gonna really like
that's such a good point, babe. That paints a really good picture. Like
it really defends the city, and then and then like essentially like also like there's only one side that's on land, and so they're just able to really fortify essentially just one wall that can really help defend the city.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
Also, dear listener, Istanbul was Constantinople.
Yes, Constantinople is present day Istanbul for all you.
It's also folks. A song if you didn't get the reference.
Yes. Thank you for that, Stephanie.
You're welcome. I'm just here to educate As best I can.
Oh, quite. So, records of the use of Greek fire in later naval battles against the Saracens are more sporadic, but it did secure, again, a number of victories, especially in the phase of Byzantine expansion in the late 9th.
Oh, yeah, I bet it did.
Yeah, oh yeah, and early 10th centuries.
Wow.
So, again, that's like the late 800s, early 900s.
Greek fire helped defend their city as well as expand their empire then.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and what's kind of weird about the Byzantine Empire was to like kind of compare and contrast it to Rome, like the original Roman Empire, was like the original Roman Empire just expanded, right? Until it got to the point.
It did.
Yeah, until it reached its apex in like 117 AD under the rule of Trajan.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, from there, it would, like, lose a little bit of ground, but then it would gain it somewhere else. And, like, that was its apex, and it did, like, quote-unquote, decline from there, but it was still massive for hundreds of years.
Right.
Up until, you know, then it started, like, in the 5th century especially. Like, in the 4th and then 5th, it started, you know, completely crumbling.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously it was split, and the East was now, like, known as the Byzantine Empire.
That's a good recap.
Yeah, but like, and the reason why I bring that up is like the Byzantine was a little bit different. Is like it would expand like crazy and then shrink, expand, shrink, expand, shrink.
And when you've told me that when it would expand farther than its original borders.
Exactly, like it would expand farther than like when I forgot who the Roman Empire was, or emperor of those that like I think it was Theodosius maybe he split it like. You know, finally, and then like it definitely it went farther than like the original like borders of the Eastern Roman Empire.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think under Justinian the First, like in the mid like 6th century, it got like all the way out to like Spain.
Oh my god!
They never got back to like current day England, but yeah, they like conquered all of Italy, like southern France, and even into Spain as well.
You said in the mid-6th century?
Yeah, the mid-6th century, so like around the 550s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, it's nuts.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, good for them. But, I know, so like, you know, that's a little bit of a backstory of Byzantine.
Really good backstory.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I have a crush on him, don't tell him.
So...
Ew, no.
Back to Greek fire. Utilization of the substance was prominent in, of course, their civil wars, because what is Rome without a good civil war?
Yeah, I mean,
they just had,
on.
you know, here in the United States, we had like one. Like, they would think, oh, that's cute. Like, we had like, we're going to have a dozen in like a decade.
Constant.
Just constant, like so many civil wars. But it was chiefly used in the rebellion led by Thomas the Slav, in 821 to 823. I mean, first of all, great name. It's like
a punk rocker.
Yeah, Thomas the Slav.
Got it.
And in this case, the rebel fleet was defeated by the imperial fleet through the use of Greek fire.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's kind of weird though, using it against your own like countrymen.
It's so terrible.
It's literally kind of like it was like a WMD of like the early medieval period.
Right, no one else had anything to combat it, and they must have been so scared of it, like the everyday person. I imagine like lots of superstition around it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's. I can only imagine what this was like fighting it. Not chill. Like zero chill. So the Byzantines also used the weapon to devastating effect against various Rus raids on the Bosphorus, especially those of 941 and 1043.
Right, of course.
As well as during the Bulgarian War of 970 to 971.
So they had this for a while and just kept using it. They just kept pulling it out of their back pocket.
Oh, yeah. Did they use it for centuries?
That's nuts. And
it's interesting because the importance placed on Greek fire and like the secrecy surrounding it was paramount. In fact, the Emperor Constantine it's not Constantine the Great because he's been dead for hundreds and hundreds of years.
It's
but
not the OG.
Not the OG, but Emperor Constantine Porphyrogentos. I butchered that. I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. But he ruled from 945 to 959. And in his book, De Administrando Imperio, he admonishes his son and heir Romanos II. Much better name, by the way.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. And Romanos ruled for like 4 years from 959 to 963 to never reveal the secrets of its composition as it was, quote unquote, shown and revealed by an angel to the great and holy first Christian emperor Constantine, and that the angel bound him not to prepare this fire but for Christians and only in the imperial city.
I was waiting for when they'd drag poor God and angels and Jesus and stuff into this. I was like, it's coming.
Yeah, and first of all, this was just complete shenanigans because Greek fire, again, like I said, wasn't, it doesn't even appear in the historical record until the 7th century, and Constantine died in 330 something.
Yeah, so he never saw it.
No, he would be dead for hundreds of years before it was actually shown up.
Yeah, so no angel gave it to him.
Yeah, no, his grandchildren have died of old age by now. No, absolutely not.
Also, just to clarify,
yes,
this faux Constantine. I know he's not a faux Constantine, but not OG Constantine.
Right.
He wrote a book and published it, and in the book, he's chastising his son already, publicly. He's like, "Hey, everyone's reading this."
I know.
What a weird strategy.
It's a very strange strategy.
I would imagine he could just, I don't know, talk to his son over dinner and tell him the same thing.
I know, right? I mean, to be honest, this guy probably was not as good of a leader as the OG Constantine.
Yeah.
That would be
I'm gonna guess that.
Yeah, surmisation. Mm-hmm. I would surmise that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yes, quite.
Quite.
Also, side note, just I think it's kind of interesting is his book was in Latin, but that was the language of the Roman Empire, but the Byzantine Empire mainly people spoke in Greek.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't in the book for the masses then.
I doubt it, yeah. Because
more
I don't
like an instruction manual for the elite who would have learned Latin.
I think only the elite would be able to even understand Latin. Because of that exactly.
Yeah,
the common language, the common tongue was Greek. Because this was based in present-day Istanbul, which is technically it's in Turkey, right? But it's right next door to Greece.
And Istanbul was Constantinople at this point.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that. That I did not know that, so thank you.
You're welcome
for saying that again.
Look who's teaching you things in your story.
Jeez. All right, and I love this too.
Okay.
This is an addition to what I just read. As a warning, he adds...
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
He's not done, sorry.
That there was one official who was bribed into handing some of the Greek fire over to the empire's enemies, and he was struck down by a flame from heaven as he was about to enter a church.
Harsh.
Yes. Harsh.
Very harsh. I love / actually hate how old school God's super mean.
Yeah, he's a dick.
Very unforgiving.
I know, yeah, he kind of is, man.
So to his son, he's like for real though, don't tell anyone. This is super secret. Constantine got it from an angel. Don't do the math. Just trust me. And if you don't trust me, I know this guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who got smited.
Yeah, smote. No, he might be smited. I don't know. But yeah, that's true.
He sounds like a very nurturing and loving father.
I think he was. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, interestingly enough, Stephanie, no one was able to replicate this. In fact, there were instances of an intact ship getting taken by Arabs or Ottomans or whomever, and they were not able to recreate this.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. And in fact, and this is what I love, the secret was so well kept that by the 12th century AD, the Byzantines had already forgotten how to make it.
No!
Yes. The secret was so well kept, it just went bye-bye.
They kept it from themselves.
Yeah, they kept it from themselves. That's how good of a secret it was.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
I know. Well, that's also just an assumption because it, literally the solution had completely disappeared from historical records.
That must have been what happened, is just fewer and fewer people were entrusted.
Yeah. And until the last dude was just like, oops, I died.
And I didn't tell anyone or write it down somewhere that people could find it.
Right. Exactly.
Wow, how embarrassing.
That's super embarrassing.
I've been there, though.
Yeah. C'est la vie, right?
Yeah.
So, Stephanie.
Andrew.
What was this? What was Greek fire?
Yes, I'm really curious because it's obviously not just fire.
No, it's not.
It's very unique and... yeah, I can't even picture it. What was it?
Okay, so I'll tell you what we do know.
Mm-hmm.
It was delivered by a hose called a siphon that was mounted on the front of ships. I know I had mentioned that earlier, and I guess I'll go into a little bit more detail. But if you picture kind of like a Coast Guard ship with like a hose on the front that sprays that will fight fire, right? That sprays...
This one will create fire.
Yeah, exactly. This one instead creates it. And so... Exactly. So, it would, instead of just spraying water, it sprays, liquid death, and that will incinerate you. Mm-hmm. So, it's good stuff right there.
Wow.
So, that was the primary way that this was delivered. Mm-hmm. It could also be delivered on land, and, essentially what they would do is, they would take earthenware pots, put the stuff in it, and then use them as grenades.
Oh my gosh. That probably is how they used it during the Civil Wars then.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Or yeah.
That's cruel.
Yeah, it really is.
They're just bombs.
They kind of are. They were literally just big boy bombs. And like I had mentioned before, it burned on water and could only be put out by sand, vinegar, and pee-pees.
Pee-pees for all the 3-year-olds that listen.
Pee-pees.
Wow.
And what's also of note that I really want to point out is that its deployment was also accompanied by thunder and much smoke.
What do you mean, what? They made the thunder and smoke?
So that was kind of the side effect, was it made really loud noises and created lots of smoke.
It must have made a banging noise.
Yes.
And was super smoky.
And that's why for hundreds of years historians theorized that it was gunpowder. It was of course it's gunpowder. But this is inconsistent with the nature of what we know about gunpowder, mainly that it cannot, burn in water.
Yeah,
and
you can't get it wet.
It was not in Europe at this time. It would not be introduced into Europe until the 13th century.
So they're wrong. That's definitely not gunpowder.
Exactly. Also, a second view, based on the fact that Greek fire was inextinguishable by water, some sources suggest that, that the water actually intensified the flames.
So nuts.
I know. It suggested that its destructive power was the result of the explosive reaction between water and quicklime, which is calcium oxide.
Okay. That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
But that theory is also refuted by not only literary, but also empirical evidence.
Okay. So that's a no.
You're oh, okay.
I was storing it away.
Shut down.
Yeah. Storing it away as a new fact, but no.
No. So another similar proposition suggested that Callinicus or whatever.
Cal.
Yeah, our boy Cal had in fact discovered calcium phosphide, which can be made by boiling bones in urine within a sealed vessel.
Ew, please tell me this one's also fake news.
It is.
Okay.
Because on contact with water, calcium phosphide releases phosphine, which ignites spontaneously, which you would think, okay, yeah, absolutely. However, extensive experiments with it also failed to reproduce the intensity described.
So it's a smaller, little boom spark
it wasn't. It just wasn't nearly as intense.
Yeah, not something that you see being weaponized at such a grand scale.
So this leads us to what modern scholars and
science people
and science folks. Yes, thank you. I know. I'm just a big dum-dum right now.
Not at all.
So they all agree that Greek fire was actually based on either crude or refined petroleum. So comparable, again, like I had mentioned earlier, to modern napalm. Yes.
That's so crazy to think about.
Dude, napalm, like, in the 7th century, it's essentially what this was. Like, nuts.
It just blows my mind at how terrified, like, people that came against it must have felt, and how emboldened those wielding it would have felt.
Yeah, I mean,
no wonder they created the story of an angel, right? Like, this
Absolutely.
must have felt otherworldly to them.
I mean, the Byzantine Empire was able to expand so rapidly in, like, the 9th and 10th centuries because of that.
Right, because they had this seemingly gift from heaven.
Exactly.
Or hell.
Or hell.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, hellfire. So
It sounds more like hellfire than anything, yeah.
I know. So, and why they think that also, and, this would make sense essentially, is because, like, the Byzantines had easy access to crude oil from the naturally occurring wells around the Black Sea and in the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes so much sense.
So, also what's interest and of note is a 9th century Latin text preserved in Germany mentions the ingredients of what appears to be Greek fire and the operation of the siphons used to project it. Although, this text does have some inaccuracy, it clearly does identify the main component as crude oil.
Okay, so that corroborates that theory.
Yes, exactly.
But this was like a potentially like failed attempt to recreate it, or an attempt that was missing something.
So yeah, like it had some inaccuracies. Like I couldn't find anywhere like
where. Yeah, I'm
like,
sure you couldn't find that recipe.
Yeah, like definitely not. Yeah. But I couldn't find what was inaccurate about it. But essentially, like if pine tar or animal fats were added, which was very easily like.
Everyone had
acquired,
animal fat back
right,
then.
Exactly. Easily acquired by the Byzantines. It does have very similar effects to what has been described in the past.
Okay.
So...
So that's their best guess right now.
Exactly. And so, Stephanie,
Yeah,
did the Eastern Roman Empire invent napalm a full 1,300 years before the U.S. did in World War II?
I am shocked to say probably.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
It really does. This was
crazy.
It's kind of nuts to think, and that's something, when I started researching this, like, again, like you kind of mentioned this, I thought the Greek fire was something that came out of, like, ancient Greece before Rome, right?
Yeah.
But no, this actually was, a little bit later, but still, like, a full, 1,300 years before it was, like, kind of truly, recreated. Not exactly the same, and probably ours is much more devastating.
Yes, I would think so.
But, pretty darn similar.
And for them, so scary and so devastating.
Oh, I know.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I love that. That is definitely weird and for sure obscure. Like, I thought I had heard of it before when you first mentioned it, but I absolutely have never heard of this.
Yeah, I mean, before I started researching this, it was like, oh yeah, Greek fire, like, kind of like this crazy fire shit that, like, happens, Like, I don't know. Like, it's...
Very profound thoughts
Very
about
profound,
it.
yes, exactly. I hadn't really given it a second thought. But when I did more research, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty crazy.
The ingenuity behind it, like, the humans that would have... Like Cal... sorry, I don't remember his full name. In my mind, I call him Cal. For him to think of it or improve upon something that others had thought of, it's just astounding.
It really is, especially just back then, like with the limited knowledge of, like, oil and petroleum that that they had. It's crazy. And again, like, another thing that Rome did.
Another thing, yeah. And I mean, I have been very fascinated by it. I'm not a fan of weapons or weaponry, but it's just interesting to think of. For me, it's like the knowledge and the lack of knowledge, like from all these other people who would have tried to recreate the same thing for their armies and for their nations and for their empires and just were completely unable to.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
It really is.
Wow. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Well, you guys, that was episode 13 of History
lucky
for
number
Weirdos.
13 in the middle of a plague.
In the middle of our very own, very weird history. But thank you all so much for listening. You can follow us along outside of the podcast on Instagram at History for Weirdos, on Twitter at History for Weirdos, and you can email us
at historyforweirdos@gmail.com. Also, if you really like this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can always get the newest and latest episodes. And
yes, please.
You know what? Throw us a 5-star rating if you really liked it. Just throw it out there.
It really helps us out, so thank you so much.
Please. And, well, I think that's all.
I think that was so great. I'm definitely I'm going to look this up. That was so cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed researching this.
Yay. Thanks, weirdos. Stay weird.
Stay weird, weirdos.
Bye.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.